What if one of the most powerful men in Europe simply disappeared? Not overthrown in war, not assassinated in his bed, but vanished from the heart of his own kingdom, leaving behind a throne that echoed with silence and a mystery that would unravel dynasties. This is not a fairy tale. This is a historical cold case buried beneath layers of velvet, blood, and official lies. For centuries, the truth has been guarded by whispers in marble corridors and encoded in forgotten portraits. Tonight, we pull back the tapestry. Subscribe to Historians One and join us as we trace the shadow of the king who vanished. Europe's lost throne. The date was October 9th, 1623. The place, the Hofburg Palace in Vienna, nerve centre of the mighty Habsburg Empire. Emperor Ferdinand II, fresh from securing a crushing victory at the Battle of the White Mountain, which cemented Catholic Habsburg dominance over Europe, was at the zenith of his power. His court was a whirlwind of diplomats, generals, and sycophants. Yet, on that crisp autumn morning, the epicentre of power became a void. The emperor was not in his chambers. He was not in the chapel. He was not hunting in the nearby woods. The man who held the strings of half of Europe was gone. Initial panic was ruthlessly suppressed by the Lord Chamberlain, a stern, unsmiling man named Graf von Hohenberg. The official story, released after 2 days of frantic, silent searching, was that the emperor, overwhelmed by the burdens of state and piety, had retired to a secluded monastery for a period of prayerful contemplation. It was unusual, but not unbelievable for a ruler known for his fervent, even militant Catholicism. Prayers were said. The machinery of government, guided by von Hohenberg and the Privy Council, grinded on. But the whispers began. A monastery? Which one? No one saw the imperial party leave. No monks reported the incredible honour. It was as if the marble floors of the Hofburg had swallowed him whole. Weeks turned to months. The period of contemplation stretched impossibly thin. Within the gilded cage of the court, a dangerous fiction was maintained. Edicts continued to be issued with Ferdinand's ornate seal, bearing his flourishing signature. Ambassadors were received by the council, who offered vague assurances of the emperor's spiritual health. Yet the foreign envoys noted the absence of the sovereign's presence, the strange, rehearsed quality of the courtiers' explanations. In Spain, in France, in the Protestant principalities of the north, questions grew into suspicions. A king cannot hide forever, unless he is not hiding at all. Our first crack in the official story comes from an unlikely source, the diary of a junior Venetian ambassador, Lorenzo Contarini. Venice, a republic of spies and merchants, had eyes everywhere. In a coded entry dated February 1624, Contarini writes, "The air in Vienna is thick with lies. They speak of a pious retreat, but the servants speak of a night of terror. 2 stable boys, paid with silver they could not refuse, told of a closed carriage leaving not for the east towards the monasteries, but west towards the Alps in the dead of night. It was escorted not by clerics, but by men in unmarked cloaks, and they say the horses were not merely ridden, they were whipped into a frenzy, as if fleeing the devil himself, the west, the Alps. This detail shifts everything. If Ferdinand was fleeing, not retreating, what was he fleeing from? The victory at White Mountain had created many enemies, broken Protestant nobles, exiled Bohemian aristocrats hungering for revenge. But to terrify an emperor in his own fortified palace, the plot deepens with a curious case of the royal physician, Dr. Johannes Hartmann. A week after the disappearance, Hartmann was found dead in his apothecary. The verdict: accidental poisoning from a mislabeled vial. But Hartmann's personal notes, discovered centuries later in a private archive, tell a different tale. His final entry, written in a shaky hand, reads, "The Black Decree is not a myth. He knew, and knowledge is a mortal affliction. The cure prescribed was extreme." What was the Black Decree? No such official document exists in the Habsburg archives. But in the folklore of the Alpine regions, stories persist of a Schwarzer Erlass, a secret pact, a binding oath made by the first Habsburg emperors with something older, something deeper in the mountains to ensure the dynasty's endurance. Was Ferdinand's disappearance linked to this arcane legend? Had a bargain come due? For 11 years the charade continued. A ghost emperor ruled the Holy Roman Empire. Then, in 1634, a body was found. In a shallow grave near the remote castle of Schloss Hartberg, on the fringes of the Alps, labourers discovered skeletal remains clothed in the rotted but still recognisable remnants of imperial garb. The signet ring of Ferdinand II was on its finger. The Habsburg court, now under the de facto rule of Ferdinand's son, Ferdinand III, declared the mystery solved. The late emperor, they stated, had been living in secrecy, his mind weakened, and had been murdered by bandits. A state funeral was held with a closed coffin. The case was officially closed, but the details did not add up. The court anatomist's report, suppressed until the 19th century, noted the skeleton showed signs of prolonged malnutrition and old, healed breaks in the ribs and fingers, injuries consistent with captivity, not a pious retreat. Most damningly, the dental records, a crude science then, but kept meticulously for the royals, were never compared. The body was simply accepted. It was as if the dynasty needed a corpse, any corpse, to bury the question once and for all. They needed to kill the vanishing king a second time to secure the throne for the living. The trail, it seemed, had gone cold for centuries. The lost throne was not physically lost. Ferdinand III sat upon it firmly. But the legitimacy of the line was forever shadowed by the ghost of his father's unexplained fate. The secret migrated from state concern to occult curiosity. In the 18th century, a Rosicrucian pamphlet circulated among European secret societies titled The Alchemical King, Transmutation of Sovereign Flesh. It allegorically spoke of a ruler who sought not just political gold, but the philosopher's stone of eternal power, and in doing so, dissolved his own mortal form. Was this a metaphor, or a coded hint at a deeper truth? The breakthrough for modern historians came from the attic of a decaying palazzo in Modena, Italy, in 1998. A cache of letters was found, belonging to a minor Italian noble, Alfonso d'Este, who had been a guest at the Hofburg in the autumn of 1623. In a letter to his brother dated October 12th, he writes with palpable fear, "The court is a tomb dressed for a festival. They say the emperor is gone to God, but the servants whisper of a cacciatore real, a royal hunter, who came not for stag but for the stag's heart. They say this hunter wears a cloak of raven feathers and answers to an older crown. I leave Vienna tomorrow. The air here is poison. Cacciatore reale. An older crown." These phrases ignited a new search. Cross-referencing with obscure monastic chronicles from Alpine abbeys, a pattern emerged. References to a guardian of the deep title or a lord of the mountain crown appeared in texts predating the Holy Roman Empire itself. This pointed not to a political conspiracy, but to something more profound. A rival sovereignty, hidden, ancient, and territorial, based not on nations but on the very bones of the Alps. Was there a secret kingdom within a kingdom? A power that could summon an emperor and make him disappear? The legend of the mountain crown is traced to the post-Roman chaos, when a Frankish warlord named Theudebert is said to have been crowned not by a pope or bishop, but by the voices of the peaks in a subterranean hall of crystals. His lineage, the true blood of the stone, was said to have continued in secrecy, acting as a check on the ambitions of surface kings. Their agent, the cacciatore real, or the Jägerkönig in German law, a figure both protector and enforcer of ancient pacts. Had Ferdinand VI, in his ruthless consolidation of power, broken such a pact? To understand the pact, we must look at what Ferdinand did. His victory at White Mountain was followed by a brutal confiscation of lands from Protestant nobles. But one confiscation, previously overlooked, stands out. He seized the ancient, non-strategic and notoriously unproductive lordship of Hohenstein-Grund, a deep Alpine valley considered little more than a superstitious backwater. The previous lord, a reclusive figure named Ulrich von Aschen, submitted without protest and vanished. The imperial surveyors sent to inventory the land reported nothing of value, but also spoke of a profound melancholy and unnatural silence in the valley's deepest gorge. The grant of this land to a loyal Catholic supporter was the last official act attributed to Ferdinand before his disappearance. Had he, in his hubris, taken land that was not his to give, land that was held in trust by the von Aschen family for the older crown? A recently digitized letter from the Vatican Secret Archive adds chilling context. A distressed local bishop writes to Rome in 1624, pleading for guidance on a matter of archon topography. He states that the peasants of the region believe certain mountains are not merely rock, but the sleeping bodies of old kings, and that their dreams govern the fate of those who rule above. He specifically mentions the Grund, saying its sleeper had been disturbed by the Red Eagle's theft. The Habsburg coat of arms featured a double-headed eagle, often rendered in red. The connection is stark. The narrative now takes us into the realm of geopolitics and hidden history. The Lost Throne is not just Ferdinand's. It is the throne of this hidden mountain sovereignty, a concept that challenged the very divine right of Europe's visible monarchs. Evidence suggests other rulers had encounters with this power. Charlemagne's chronicles speak of a negotiation with the lords of the deep places before his imperial coronation. Frederick Barbarossa, the legendary emperor who sleeps in a mountain, may be a folk memory of this tradition. The Habsburgs, by the 17th century, had perhaps grown so powerful they believed they were beyond such archaic checks and balances. Ferdinand's seizure of the Grund was the final straw. What happened on the night of October 9th? Piecing together servant testimonies, the Contarini diary, and Alpine folk tales, a probable sequence emerges. The Jägerkönig, the royal hunter, came to the Hofburg. He did not come with an army, but with an authority that bypassed guards and opened doors. He presented Ferdinand with a choice: abdicate the seized land and perform a rite of contrition, or be held to account by the older law. Ferdinand, the most powerful Catholic emperor, likely refused. The extreme cure mentioned by the doctor, perhaps a potion to induce a death-like trance for transport. The closed carriage, the frantic ride west. It was not flight. It was an abduction sanctioned by a law older than Rome. The destination was the Grund. Here, the theory enters its final breathtaking phase. Using ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR scans of the gorge in 2015, archaeologists from a small private foundation discovered anomalies. Man-made structures deep beneath the scree and glacial till. Not a castle, but a vast, hall-like space with what appear to be tiered seating, a subterranean amphitheatre, or a throne room. Local legends call it the Steinernes Gericht, the stone court. This, then, is the seat of the older crown. Was Ferdinand II taken here to stand trial before the guardians of the mountain crown for his transgression? If so, what was the verdict? The malnourished skeleton found at Schloss Hartberg was hundreds of feet higher up the mountain, above the tree line. It suggests an escape, or a release. Had he been found guilty and imprisoned in the depths, only to escape years later, weak and broken, to perish on the mountainside? Or was his body placed there deliberately, a symbolic gesture showing he died under the sky, rejected by both the heavens and the deep earth? The Habsburgs' quick, unquestioning acceptance of the corpse suggests they knew its provenance. They were being returned the evidence of their failure, with a silent command to end the matter. The repercussions of this hidden history are vast. The 30 Years' War, that continent-shattering conflict, raged during the period of the Ghost Emperor and his son. Some historians now speculate that the war's unprecedented brutality and lack of clear diplomatic resolution stemmed from a fundamental crack in the principle of sovereign authority. If the highest could be made to vanish, what was power? The secret, kept by a few Habsburg insiders and the mysterious Order of the Mountain Crown, if it existed, poisoned the well of European politics. The Lost Throne was never truly empty. The Mountain Crown, whether a physical seat in a subterranean hall or a metaphysical principle, continued to exert its influence. Some argue the rise and fall of Napoleon, a man obsessed with symbolic crowns, was a direct engagement with this hidden architecture of power. Did he seek the Mountain Crown's approval during his Alpine campaigns? His eventual downfall and exile on another island mountain, St. Helena, holds a strange poetic symmetry. In the 20th century, the shadows of this secret lengthened. Occultists within the Nazi SS, particularly Himmler's Ahnenerbe, were fascinated by the legend of the Jägerkönig and the true blood of the stone. They saw in it a proto-Aryan hierarchy, a justification for their own brutal sovereignty. Their expeditions into the Alps were not just for relics. They were searching for a source of legitimacy deeper than the Weimar Republic or the old monarchies they despised. They sought the lost throne to sit upon it. Their failure is perhaps a testament to the fact that this power does not bow to mere force, but to older, more inscrutable laws. Today, the Gorge of the Grund is a protected natural site. its deep anomalies left deliberately unexcavated. The Habsburg dynasty is a memory, but the mystery endures as a paradigm. It asks a terrifying question. What if history is not just the story of kings and battles we see, but also shaped by silent verdicts from a court we cannot see? The king who vanished is more than a man. He's a testament to the idea that no power is absolute, that there are always older, deeper laws waiting in the mountains, in the earth, in the silent places of the world. The story of the vanished emperor is a puzzle with pieces forever missing. Yet, its legacy is a whisper in the stone of Europe. Every time a powerful ruler falls unexpectedly, every time a dynasty ends not with a bang but a strange, quiet dissolution, the ghost of Ferdinand II stirs. The lost throne is a metaphor for the limits of human ambition. It reminds us that behind the glittering facade of palaces and the bold print of treaties, there often runs a darker, deeper current of obligation, myth, and consequence. Our investigation ends where it began, in the archive, in the whisper, in the landscape itself. The truth is likely stranger than any single theory. A blend of political murder, secret society ritual, and the potent human need for myth. Perhaps Ferdinand was murdered by a cabal of his own courtiers, and the mountain law is an elaborate smokescreen. Or perhaps the mountain law provided the perfect blueprint for a real, political crime. The genius of the mystery is its fusion of the tangible and the uncanny. And so the carriage rolls on into the Alpine night, forever suspended in time. The emperor sits inside, a sovereign become a passenger, his fate no longer his own. The lost throne of the mountains waits, hewn from living rock in a hall of perpetual shadow. And the throne in Vienna sits empty, yet full, a lesson carved in gold and blood. Some secrets are kept not in locked boxes but in plain sight, woven into the fabric of history itself. They challenge us to look deeper, to question the official story, to listen for the echo of older footsteps in the corridors of power. The vanished king is gone, but his absence is a presence that forever alters the landscape of the past. This has been Historians 1. We have journeyed into the heart of one of Europe's most enduring enigmas, but for every mystery solved, a dozen more await in the shadows. The Romanovs' lost treasure, the true identity of the man in the iron mask, the occult rituals of the Renaissance papacy. The past is a labyrinth, and we are your guides. Subscribe to Historians 1 now, turn on notifications, and join us next time as we go beyond the textbook and uncover the history they never taught you. Until then, remember, what is recorded is only the prologue. The real story is still being written in the whispers